David Forst, the general manager of the Athletics, going to be joining us right here on A's Cast Live. A lot to get into. How are you?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Oh, good.
Things are. I mean, you got to be enjoying what you're seeing.
Yeah. Last week it was a good road trip. Win 2 series in a row. Played well the last couple of days at home. So
yeah, I mean, you go 4-2 on the road trip. I'm looking at since June 19th, you're 21, 23 and 21. I mean, you're starting to hear you're starting to get consistency, which I like.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously made a few changes to the roster, and there was guys need a chance to adjust to that. But yeah, look, we've played well. I don't know exactly what our record is over the last 6 weeks, but I think we have been consistent. We've pitched better. Obviously, the hitting has been consistent pretty much all the way through, and yeah, it's been nice to watch.
Yeah, no doubt about it. When you start looking at this ball club going forward, 42 games left. What from a front office perspective, what do you want to see?
I'd like to get healthier. I'd like to get Denzel and Jacob and Sevy and Muntz back out there first. Yeah. I think that would be nice, and everybody's making progress in their own way. So I think we got a good chance to see those guys hopefully sooner rather than later. But we had that little stretch in there, late June, early July, where we had this whole group kind of together. And it'd be nice to get everybody back for September to sort of give ourselves some momentum.
Do we have a chance to see all three of them the rest of the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think all those guys are making progress. I think, Sevy had an MRI today that was very positive, and I think he's going to, be back sooner. And Jacob and Max are swinging the bat. Yeah, Denzel's very close to going out and playing. So, yeah, we're going to see all those guys.
Yeah, it's great looking out today, and you saw Muncy and Wilson taking ground balls. You're like, that is a really, really good sign. Let's talk pitching, because you're pitching right now. When you just look at the data, I mean, we'll get to the bullpen because they've been really good since about mid-June. But just talk about starters all of a sudden. You're really starting to have really good numbers from the starters.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had some guys who needed to settle in, and whether that was coming from other clubs or getting their feet under them in the big leagues, whatever the case, like, we had guys in the first couple months of the season that weren't 100% comfortable, but you see what they can do when they are. And the guy going tonight, Jeffrey, has been incredibly consistent basically from the first month on. We saw Perk over the weekend get his first win. We saw JT, what he can do when he's consistent. Nice to get Luis a start. Obviously, he needs some more time in the big leagues to feel comfortable. But yeah, it just everybody's so much more at ease when your starter goes out there and gives you 5, 6 innings, 7 innings, whatever it is. And then, it's not a 5-alarm emergency in the bullpen every night.
No doubt. And talking about innings, one guy that looks like he has the ability to give you a lot of innings is Jacob Lopez. Obviously, the trade was a big trade as it looks now for Joe Boyle going to Tampa in return. What you're getting with Springs and what you're getting with Lopez. Talk about Jacob Lopez. Did you know he could be this type of pitcher? What were the expectations when you brought him in?
Yeah, we talked about Jacob as a starter from the moment we made the trade. And, another guy who came up, relief, had a really good start, went back down. Like, it's never just sort of a straight line for any of the guys, particularly guys without a lot of big league time under their belts. And Jacob has come up, and every time he goes out now, we feel like he's got a chance if he throws enough strikes to get deep in the game. And we saw what happens when he's not in the zone and his pitch count is up in the 80s and 90s in the 4th, 5th inning. But when he pounds the zone, and he's got a chance to go 6 and 7 innings and get some swings and misses along the way.
Yeah, he's been a lot of fun. He looks like he's very durable too.
For sure.
Durability is the huge key in our game, no question about it. So when you look at the trade, that was big. And you didn't mention Perkins, getting to see him start with we like the idea of putting him in the bullpen, getting his feet wet, but now he looks like one of these guys, like he could be in the rotation for a long time.
Yeah, it's hard not to enjoy Jack in the bullpen. His stuff is kind of sexy. He comes out, throws hard, he gets some swings and misses, but this guy was drafted as a starter, developed as a starter. I saw him in the fall league a couple years ago where he was just getting some extra innings pitching in the pen, and I told him, don't get too comfortable out there because it's not easy to start, and if you can do it, we're going to count on you to do it. And you saw what he was capable of the other day.
Yeah, I was saying once we hit February pitchers and catchers, no more bullpen. He's in the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's so hard to find consistent, solid starters. We've obviously had to move guys in and out, but we've seen a lot of guys who are capable of doing it. And if you can do it up here, we're going to give you every opportunity before moving you to the pen.
Yeah, you see Morales has unbelievable stuff, but when you throw 32 balls to 25 strikes, that's going to be a little bit of a problem, but he didn't give up a run. You see that he's electric.
Yeah.
You got to figure out, he's got to figure out the craft and how to pitch.
It's so normal to be nervous when you go out there. Obviously, it wasn't his first ever appearance, but his first start nonetheless. Yeah. I mean, we've heard from guys who say they can't even feel their legs out there in their first big league start. So you don't evaluate guys off their first appearance, their first start. You like the stuff. You know what he's capable of. We've seen it in the minor leagues, and I'm sure he will get another opportunity.
He's going to have a lot of opportunities. I mean, his story's interesting when you talk about the Cuban players, what they have to go through just to get here to have a shot.
Yeah.
Do you find more maturity with players like that? Because they've had to grow up fast.
They have, yeah. And Luis has been through a lot. I mean, our international department deserves a lot of credit. Dan Feinstein, Steve Sharp spent a lot of time in Mexico watching Luis, getting to know him. And you're right, he has been through a lot, having to get out of Cuba, spend basically a whole year on his own in Mexico as an 18-year-old, wow. And then to come over here. And yeah, you like to think not as much phases guys who've been through that.
We've talked plenty of times with you about just how fickle and how tough it is with bullpens. You know, like your bullpen got out to a hot start. You rode it. Then all of a sudden they fell apart. And then now they're back together again. And ever since like whatever it is, June 20th, whatever, you have one of the best bullpens in baseball, second best ERA in baseball for bullpens. It's just so hard.
You can't say it enough that those guys have no margin for error. And the littlest adjustment, the littlest, mistake, and they're a totally different guy. And you look out there, Sterner went down and came back. Ferguson's now gone down and come back. Alvarado's been down twice, came back and threw 101, closed the game yesterday. So credit to Mark and Emo for figuring out sort of the right combination out there. I talked to Mark before the game yesterday, and we were going over who was going to throw, and he said, hey, I like the way Elvis is throwing the ball. If we have a safe situation, he's the guy. So, you talk through it, you think about what you have. Kelly goes 2 innings the day before and holds on to a lead for us. So Mark's done a really good job of moving these guys around and making sure that the combination fits.
Watching the game yesterday, Elvis had a little it factor to him. If you watch the game,
when you throw 101, it's kind of easy to have that factor.
Well, not in the beginning, though. When he was first here and he was not throwing strikes and he was getting hit, he didn't have. But yesterday, he had some movements. He had a little twirl on a strikeout. You could tell he's feeling it. That's kind of like when you see a young athlete when the light comes on and he knows I can compete at this level. Yeah. Then you mention the stuff. He looks like he could be dangerous. He's got closer written all over him.
Yeah, no, he does have a little swag. I think you saw it with Perk the day before too. After those first few hitters, I think you saw Perk sort of strut through those last 6 innings, and it's nice to see. It's nice to know that guys feel comfortable, they feel like they can compete, and frankly feel like they can dominate at times.
Let's talk Nick Curts. I think it's what's been so impressive about Nick Curts is, after he has 19 total bases, 4 home runs, it's an absolute historic game. He hasn't hit a home run since, but yet he's got a 25-game on-base hitting streak. Yeah. He continues to get on. He continues to hit. What does that show you?
Well, look, he wasn't going to sneak up on anybody after that night. I think it was I'll blame MLB Network for broadcasting it everywhere, but he's gotten every left-hander out of the bullpen. He's gotten everybody's A stuff. They know how to pitch him. They're busting him in. They're throwing soft stuff, and Nick has done an incredible job of adjusting on the fly, taking his walks, getting on base in that 2-hole, and then getting his hits too. He's not pressing to try and hit homers. I think he, like everybody else out there, knows he can hit homers. But you're right, the 25 straight on base streak, the just being consistent in the lineup, giving Shea cover, getting on base for Rook, whatever he needs to do, he's done it. He's really, improved as just a flat out major league hitter.
We didn't realize that his nickname at everybody's got a new nickname for him now, but back at Wake Forest, it was Spider-Man because everything sticks to him. Did you know he'd be this good defensively?
I saw him work pretty hard. When I went to see him in college, he spent a lot of time those 2 days working at first base, going out there early before BP. That was sort of the book on him, was this guy cared about his defense. He went out there and worked at it. I guess they don't hit pop-ups at Wake Forest. I don't know. Maybe they never got around to that. But But yeah,
well, the metal bats, you don't get a lot of those in the metal bats.
We knew that this guy was serious about his first base play.
All right. The trading deadline has come and gone. We haven't talked to you since then.
Yep.
You made the trade that was the biggest trade at the deadline. Can we go through it?
Let's do it. Yeah, you thought there was a chance we were going to do nothing, I think, last time we talked. So I didn't do that. No.
I thought really there wasn't. Yeah, So how did this thing go down between – I know you and AJ Preller have done battle on the basketball courts before, but obviously you guys have a very good relationship. How did the conversation start between you, AJ, and the Padres?
Well, it started slowly because I just didn't think they had the players to get it done. I didn't think, we were going to get access, specifically to Leo De Vries. And without that, there really wasn't a conversation. We heard from teams interested in Mason. As I always say, we have to be open to every conversation. Like right now, we are not a playoff team. I think there are a lot of ingredients of a playoff team here, but if our job as a baseball operations department is to build a playoff team, we have to be open to making changes and adjustments on the fly, and that includes listening on a player like Mason. And there were a few teams I thought maybe had the players to do it, and the conversations didn't really go, beyond the first couple, and then it really wasn't until Monday of the deadline week that AJ, in my opinion, kind of got serious and said, okay, like De Vries is part of this conversation. Now he had De Vries in a lot of conversations. They were serious about other big time star players. So you never really know if it's going to happen, but I made it clear, like there was going to have to be a bunch of players behind Leo. I didn't want it to get skinny after him talking about, our star closer, and he stepped up. I mean, he's never easy to deal with. I mean, that's why, AJ has the reputation he does of making these big deals and putting things together. But he gets things done. And ultimately we got the players we wanted.
So it's like a gradual thing. It's like, okay, we finally got to De Vries, but you're going to need more than De Vries. So it's a conversation back and forth that they just had to keep adding players. If you're going to have me give you Mason Miller, you've got to keep adding to the deal.
Yeah, and this, like, I will tell you, as late as like Wednesday morning, this was in his mind like a 2-for-1 deal, and within a matter of hours it became a 4-for-2 deal. Like, it doesn't just happen in the first conversation. It takes until there's a little bit of urgency, and I knew, like I said, he had other sort of irons in the fire, and Leo was potentially going to be in other deals, and it took some urgency and closeness to the deadline to get there.
How good can De Vries be?
Look, I think Leo De Vries has a chance to be a superstar. I think he's 18 years old, performing in high A, playing the hardest position on the field. He's got athleticism. He's a switch hitter. He's taken walks. He's got power. Like, he checks all the boxes. It's not going to be this year. It may not be next year. Like, there is a learning curve no matter where you are. But I'd like to think he gets his feet wet in Double-A before the end of the year, starts there next year, and then he's off and running. So, look, when you're 18 years old in high A, that's a pretty good sign of things to come. So every guy we've had who's seen this guy, whether it was an amateur, pro ball, whatever, has said this guy has it.
So you see him moving up to Double-A before the end, and then starting in Double-A next year.
Yeah, I think that's probably the route we would take. Again, there's a lot that has to happen over the next month, but yeah, I think that's a likely path for Leo. I think we got 3 other guys in that deal. 2 of them are already Double-A. Nunez back in Triple-A throwing well, that were critical, again, to trading guys like Mason and Sears. And Braden Nett and Henry Baez have thrown the ball really well in their 2 outings so far for Midland.
Could you see them in the rotation next year potentially?
As long as I've been doing this show, I have said once you're in Double-A, you're part of the conversation. So sure. Yeah, I think, neither guy has a ton of experience, and there's obviously a big step to make it Triple-A. But I know Mike McFerrin, our pitching coordinator, is out there in Midland seeing them. Ed Sprague's going to go see them pitch. I'm hoping to get to Midland here to see these guys in person and see exactly what we've got, so we know kind of what the timeline is.
If you could give like the traditional Billy Owens comp, because he's got a comp for everybody, your assistant general manager, who would be your comp for Leo De Vries?
Man, B.O. is so much better than I am at this.
He's got a comp for everybody. He'd have a comp for you at Harvard.
Do I get a phone a friend here? Can I literally get him on the line to ask?
Whose skill set does he remind you of?
Like a Francisco Lindor is kind of like a smaller guy, but uber athletic, switch hitting, like with power, smooth at short. Like, I think that's maybe, and Lindor was drafted at 18 out of high school. Like Leo's already in high A. So that's sort of the first one that comes to mind. I'm guessing if you text BO, he'll give you a better name.
Yeah, because my question for a lot of people was, if this kid wasn't in the Dominican and let's say he was going to high school somewhere, would he have been the first pick in this year's draft?
Yeah, I think, we talked about that through this process. Where would he have been on our draft board? And I think with Willits and Holiday, I think he's right there in the top 5 on your draft board. Absolutely.
And I think about a guy that's tough to lose. I mean, obviously losing Mason Miller, you drafted him, you loved him. It's tough to lose him, but he's a closer on a team that's not winning right now. But a guy that took the ball for you a lot and was just a really great clubhouse guy, JP Sears.
Yeah, I mean, neither of those were easy conversations. Great guys. Like you said, Mason's story is a organizational success, from scouting, player development to medical, keeping him on the field, getting him back in 23, like every department. That's a huge win for the organization. A great guy and a good ambassador. I mean, literally the day we traded him, he went out to the Children's Hospital here in Sacramento. I mean, great guy. And JP, Mr. Consistent over the last 3 years, took the ball every 5 days, always in a good mood, always with a smile in the dugout. Like, not easy calls on either one of those. But like I said at the beginning, if your goal is to build a playoff team, you have to be open to making moves like that.
How was the deal with Cincinnati and trading Miguel Andujar?
Yeah, I mean, that one came together quickly on the last day. They had told me all along that Andujar might be a guy they're interested in late, depending on what other moves they make. And Miggy did a great job for us, obviously being a free agent after the year, not a guy who necessarily we saw here long term, and a young kid in Kenya Huggins who we'd seen in junior college, actually seen back in high school in Louisiana, coming off Tommy John, and had a really successful season so far after his rehab, and really all arrows pointing up on Huggins. And
you left it open about maybe bringing Andujar back. Is that something that you say to the player, hey, listen, we're trading you now, you get it, but we're gonna want to talk to you in the offseason?
Absolutely. Said exactly that when I called Miguel to let him know about the trade, because it was close to the deadline, and calling him with news that he probably didn't expect, but absolutely said to him, hey, good luck with the Reds. I hope you guys do well in the playoff run, but look, we'll be in touch. We loved having you here the last year and a half, and there's a place for you here if things work out.
Now, the calls on Severino, this calls on Spring. See, that's where I thought you're not going to do anything.
Okay.
And I was right
that
on
one,
that.
You got those right.
But you were getting calls on your pitchers, weren't you?
We did. But as you saw sort of industry-wide, the starting pitcher market never really happened, certainly in comparison to the reliever market. I mean, relievers were sort of where it was at this time around, and you only saw a few starting pitchers. There were obviously JP, Zach Gallen went, so there was never anything serious in either one of those. There just weren't teams willing to sort of pony up for starting pitchers of that caliber.
And now, as the front office, all this is done. I mean, what do you guys sit around, drink beers, hang out? What do you guys do in the front office the rest of the way?
Let's play some golf, right?
42 games left.
No, it's I've enjoyed watching the last week. Obviously, I think these guys know that there's a 2-month stretch here where they have a lot to prove. They obviously went out and did it against Baltimore and Washington. But I like I said, we got to get guys healthy. We got to get guys back and playing so that everybody goes into September and beyond feeling good about what they've done and then building some momentum.
All right, this is something that we'll end on this. For years in sports, we see teams that have rough seasons, but then they kind of find it in the end and they finish strong. And then we all go into the off season. It doesn't always carry over. Yeah. It doesn't always work. How much do you believe in the finish strong and it will carry over?
Well, this has always been a second half team. I mean, even in the years where we were playoff teams, in some of our years with best records, we started slowly and we played well in the second half. So we've always believed that how you play here impacts the way you feel about the team in the offseason, what you're willing to do, what you want to build on for spring training. And I think in a year like this, it's super important. I mean, we saw guys who had great second halves last year who did build on it, guys who weren't able to and are still sort of trying to find themselves. But I think it does impact the way you go into the offseason and how you feel about your team.
Appreciate the time as always.
All right, Chris.
The David Forst Show right here on A's Cast Live. Coming up next, we're going to have Johnny and Ken getting you ready for A's baseball. Then I'll be back with Steve Sachs for A's Cast on NBC Sports California. Thank you for listening and watching A's Cast Live.